Hey, Nir.
Hey,
Thanks for
how's it going,
joining.
Connor?
Good, good. So, you've spent years studying and writing about human behavior, from how products hook us to how we manage attention and distraction. And now your new book is about beliefs. And I'm curious, like, what experience in your own life made you realize that belief is such an important part of behavior change?
So the thing that made me want to dive deeper into this topic was the frustration of having written a book that two books that a lot of people have read, sold over 1 million copies,
Hmm.
but every once in a while, someone will tell me something that sounds like this. This is what caused me to want to dive deeper. Somebody will say to me, "Hey, I read your book. I really enjoyed it, but I didn't really do anything about it." Right? Like, and I want to dive deeper. Like, okay, amazing. I'm guessing you've had similar experiences with all the amazing content you produce as well. Of like, yeah, I read it, but like, I didn't actually do it. And so, to
Yes.
me, at first, I was super frustrated by that because I spent a lot of time on my books. Indistractable took me 5 years to write. And I had 30 pages of citations to peer review journals. I really wanted to get the research right. And it's a problem everybody complains about. Everybody feels distracted. Everybody feels like I don't have enough time. And so
Yeah.
here's the solution on a silver platter. Here, I spent 5 years writing this. This will work for you. And they don't do it. And I wanted to know why. Like, was it something that is wrong with them? Is there something wrong with my writing? And then I realized, wait a minute, actually, I do this too. I have tons of books of full of advice I haven't put into practice. I've paid gurus and experts to tell me what to do, and somehow I haven't put it to use either. And so what I learned diving into this research of why don't we do what we say we're going to do, what we know we want to do, is that our concept of motivation is wrong. That we think motivation is if I want this benefit, I'll do this behavior, done deal. Right? Classic economic incentives,
Yeah.
which does work, except there's something underlying, something hidden that we don't think about, which is even if I know the behavior, even if I know what I'm supposed to do. And these days, it used to be that knowing what to do was scarce. That's no longer scarce, right? If you want to know what to do, ask ChatGPT, Google it, all the answers are out there.
Mhm.
So we all know what to do. Even if I know I want the benefit, that's not good enough either, because I can know what to do, want the benefit, and still not do the behavior. If it was that simple, we'd all have six-pack abs and be millionaires. But there's something missing. And what's missing is belief. That if I don't believe I'm going to get the benefit, for example, let's say I work for a boss who I don't believe has my best interests at heart. Maybe I don't believe they're going to give me that promotion or that raise. Well, how motivated am I going to be to keep working for them? Or what's very common is if I don't believe in my own ability to do the behavior. Maybe I don't think I'm good enough or smart enough or prepared enough or whatever. If I don't believe I can do the behavior, I'm also not going to be motivated. So what underlies the belief in the benefit is belief. I'm sorry, I'm not sure if I said that right. What underlies the benefit and the behavior is the belief.
Right.
It's that motivation is not a straight line, it's a triangle. You have to have all three. And so once I looked into the research and found how important these beliefs are and how we can self sabotage through what's called limiting beliefs, I learned about how important it is that we identify those limiting beliefs, delete them, and instead install these liberating beliefs, these beliefs that give us motivation, that reduce unnecessary suffering so that we can finally be our best selves, do our best work, and have the lives we deserve.
Amazing. Yes, I think I hear from readers on our newsletter and in our community all the time. They're smart, they're motivated, they want to make changes. They still struggle with everything you just talked about: distraction, finding it hard to really focus on the things that matter. And so when you think about these limiting beliefs, what do you think are some limiting beliefs around focus or attention or time that might seem like reasonable, but might be making things worse for somebody?
The most common limiting belief I hear of all limiting beliefs, not just time management and productivity beliefs, because there's, there's so many out there. Exercise sucks. The world is a mess. I have this condition. I have ADHD. So I used to tell that to myself all the time. Oh, that's why I'm distracted. It's my ADHD again. I'm having a senior moment. I'm not a morning person. I'm a Sagittarius. I mean, it goes on and on and on and on. The most common limiting belief I hear, bar none, more than anything, is I don't have time. Hear it all the time. You hear it too, I guess, right?
all the time. Yeah.
All the time. um, and that's a limiting belief. Because what are we talking about here? The human race is 200,000 years old. The earth is billions of years old. Like, what do you mean you don't have time? Time for what? Time for everything at all at once. That's what you're asking for. You want to be able to do everything at the same time and have no pain while you're doing it. It's supposed to be totally easy. Well, that's the problem, is that we have this expectation that things are supposed to be perfect, that like that will show us that we've arrived. If we can have that one perfect day where everything happens exactly as we planned, that's not reality. At least I don't know anybody who lives in that reality. The problem is that we keep expecting that to be reality, and that's what causes us the suffering. That one of the big things that blew my mind doing this research is that pain and suffering are two separate things. That pain is nothing more than the signal entering your brain. That's pain. It's a signal, because all pain happens in the brain. All pain is real, but all pain happens in the brain. Whether it's psychological pain, whether it's physiological pain, it's all in the brain. It doesn't happen in your arm or your back or whatever. It happens in your brain. So that's pain. That's a signal. Suffering is the interpretation of that signal. And so one of the biggest gifts that this research has given me is to see that pain differently, is to interpret the chaos of my life as a virtue. The philosopher Schopenhauer said that life is that which fights entropy. That the very definition of being alive is fighting chaos. That's what we do as living beings. And when I started taking that perspective, then I stopped suffering. Am I still busy? Yeah, of course, but I'm not stressed, right? Do I still have high expectations? Yes, but I'm not suffering from those expectations. It now has become something joyful, something that I want to do, something that I can look forward to. It's still something I have to work on, right? That's why I wrote this book, is because I want these constant reminders. But telling myself simple mantras, like one that I repeat after doing this research, that I repeat to myself several times per day, is that it doesn't get easier, you get stronger. It doesn't get easier, you get stronger. I think that's what I was missing with all this productivity advice, is that I think what happens is people read a book like mine, like like your advice, and they're like, well, it's not easy.
No.
Right? Like I thought it was going to be easy. And it's not. It's because it's never going to get easy. Now, just because something is hard doesn't mean you need to suffer through it. Lots of things in life are hard. Raising kids, hard. Having a quality marriage, hard. Starting a business, hard. But you don't have to suffer, right? It can be something that you do that you look forward to, because things never get easier. You get stronger. And so that's just one of the tip of the iceberg of how we can change our beliefs. What's really surprising is that it doesn't necessarily have to be true. I think that's where I get hung up on. I'm like, well, am I just like lying to myself? Am I just, gaslighting myself here with these beliefs? Well, I would argue you're already gaslighting yourself. We already don't see reality clearly. Right? We can't. Our brains can't handle reality. We have to create these shortcuts and use beliefs to filter our reality so that we can process it effectively. So if our beliefs make up such a huge proportion of our daily decisions and our life decisions, we better choose them correctly. Not based on our history, not based on how we've been raised, not based on our culture, not based on what's been programmed into us, but actively looking at what are these beliefs that I hold on to, which ones are limiting me, and which ones can liberate me from suffering.
Wow, there's so much good stuff there. Thank you. Yeah, I think we hear it all the time with applying make time, because it's like, okay, we have the 4 steps. You pick a highlight, your one big thing. You try to get laser focused. So you use tactics to change some of the defaults around distraction, stuff that you're very, familiar with from Indistractable.
Mm-hmm.
You take time out of your busy schedule to energize, because the mind and body are connected. You're not going to stay focused and totally present and concentrated hour after hour. You got to recharge. And then you take notes and you reflect as you go, right? Those are the 4 steps of our framework. And people, they get going with it, but then it's hard because they work in a demanding job. They're a manager. They've got kids at home, all of it. And I think that simple reframe is something I'm super excited to share. It's just like it, knowing that it is going to be hard, and that's what you're doing as you're taking action, as you're building your own schedule, and as you're making these trade-offs, and as you're pushing back towards things that aren't important so you can have times for things that are. Like, that's what life is. And you don't, if it feels that way, it's not that something is broken, it's that you're doing it correctly.
That's
Like
right.
you're
That
not
you're
just
alive.
passively allowing these things to happen, you're actually engaging with your life, and you're trying to put some structure and some intention into chaos. And that's
Right.
really, I think, such a powerful thing.
Yeah,
um,
I almost wish that I would have started. I mean, you work through life and you learn, and which is why I love writing, is because research is me search. I'm learning along the way, but I almost think like maybe the preamble to books like Make Time or Indistractable or other books in this genre should be that you have to reframe the pain as a virtue, not a suffering. And
hmm,
so one of the things that I say to myself again, the Beyond Belief, you read it. Thanks so much. We were talking about it earlier before we started recording, and I so appreciate that you digested it. But I talk about these like secular prayers
hmm,
that doesn't have to necessarily be anything supernatural. Just like there's a power in these regular mantras that we can repeat to ourselves to remind us of our intentions. And so I advise people to make them up for themselves, but of course I share what's meaningful to me. Another one of these meaningful mantras that I say to myself several times per day, along with we talked about earlier about life is that which fights entropy, and it doesn't get easier, you get stronger. I remind myself this, that when I'm doing a hard project, when I want to quit, when I want to get distracted, when I want to do something that I know I'll later regret, I say to this to myself. I close my eyes for just a quick second and I say to myself, this is what it feels like to get better.
hmm.
This is what it feels like to get better. Just that simple mantra of, you know what? That pain doesn't have to be suffering. That pain, that feeling is just information. It's just data. Nothing's broken. Nothing's going to hurt me if I don't let it. That I relish that, you know what? This is difficult. Good. Awesome. Amazing. Like that just means that I'm doing something that other people can't do. I'm doing something that I couldn't do yesterday now.
Hmm.
And I think that reframe, I think helps that shock, that cold. It's like getting in the shower and you turn on the cold shower and you get that shock of cold water real quick. I think it helps with realizing that like this is for me. This is not happening to me. This is happening for me. That this is something I want to do, and has a purpose. It has a greater objective here to help me have greater agency and be better than I was yesterday.
Yeah, I love that. So when we think about, the key practice in make time is choosing one big thing to protect and prioritize in your day, what we call a highlight.
Mm,
So for reader, they choose a big, exciting highlight for their day. They're probably aware with traditional self help and also with the modern movement on visualization and manifestation. People say you got to visualize your success. So they might think, okay, I'm just going to imagine myself getting this thing done, finishing it. And like that's going to be the key to help me actually make it happen. But I thought it was really interesting that you argued that these positive fantasies can actually like drain our energy and sap our motivation. So I'd love to hear from your perspective. Why do you think this idea of visualizing success can be a trap? And what can we do differently?
yeah. Let me just write this down because this is good stuff. Um, Here's the problem with visualizing and manifesting and positive thinking is that it focuses on the outcomes. And there's a lot of research that shows, I don't take stuff at face value. I want to see the studies, which means that there's a lot of studies that I debunk in the book. And certainly this positive thinking stuff can really hurt us, can really backfire. Because when we focus on the outcome, when that becomes what we fixate on, it can actually reduce our motivation to go get those things. How can that
Hmm.
happen? So Gabrielle Oettingen did this wonderful research where she hooked people up to blood pressure monitors as they were visualizing an outcome, right? I want a beach body. I want to find love. I want to be financially successful. I'm going to visualize myself in that Lamborghini. I'm going to manifest the universe to vibrate and give me those things I want. And guess what was happening as they were doing these exercises? Their blood pressure was dropping. They were becoming more relaxed. And in follow up contact, it turns out those people who had visualized the outcomes they want became less likely to do the hard work that was necessary to go get those things.
Yeah.
So famously, students who were studying for an exam and all they did was visualize the A became less likely to study. People who were on a diet and visualized getting skinny were less likely to actually change their eating patterns and go exercise because they were more relaxed. The brain was registering, oh, it's already here. I've already enjoyed the pleasure. What's the point of actually doing the hard work? So we don't want to visualize success. We want to plan for the pain. We want to plan for the pain, not visualize success, plan for the pain. So this is called mental contrasting. You're contrasting what it is that you want with the barrier in your way. And the barrier in your way is psychological. It's your inability to deal with that pain, the inability to deal with that discomfort. You have a difficult conversation with somebody, and it's your inability to deal with the pain that causes you to lash out and say something you'd later regret. It's your impatience with your children. It's your inability to be bored, which is why you keep scrolling. It's your impatience with a project at work that causes you to check email as opposed to work on that big presentation. It's all about pain management. At the end of the day, that's what it's really about. It's about pain management. So successful visualizing, people say, yeah, but athletes visualize. Yeah, they do. You know what athletes visualize? They don't manifest and visualize the gold medal or the trophy. No, you know what athletes visualize? They visualize the barrier in their way. They visualize, hey, if I'm on offense and defense is coming out at me, what am I going to do? Right? If I'm skiing down the mountain, what's the path look like? What's the terrain? What might get in my way? That's what they're visualizing. And so that's the right way to do this. That positive thinking has a negative side if all you think about is the outcome, but rather you have to prepare for the pain, that when the discomfort happens, what are you going to do about it? So for me, I used to be clinically obese, not just overweight, clinically obese. And so one of the tactics that I adopted that changed my life was that now I prepare for the pain. What's the pain of weight loss? For me, it was I would hang out with friends, or I'd go to a dinner party or something, or somebody would offer me an extra glass of wine or a piece of chocolate cake. So I had to practice. I had to visualize, what will I do when I feel that discomfort? Am I going to give in? Or do I have a plan in place to deal with that discomfort so that the pain doesn't become suffering, that it doesn't rule my life? And so that's the right way to use visualizing versus, I think, what most people do that actually backfires.
So powerful, really good. Yeah, I'm in the middle of a cohort program we run called the Inner Operating System, and they're on a 2-week challenge. And so we've been doing nervous system regulation, attention training, building some structure around their focus, and then they're picking one area of their life, and each day they're making progress towards it. And on Tuesday yesterday, on Thursday on the breakout, we had them discuss what's the most likely obstacle and what are you going to do when that comes up. And so I'm really excited after this conversation to go back and share with the group a little bit more finer detail of like what you've just said is like, how do you actually start to think and be like, what's my plan? I think that's really important. I just see so much of this happening with visualization and with athletes, et cetera. And I think there's a nuance there as well, right? It's not just Michael Phelps on the podium. It's Michael Phelps taking the last 3 huge strokes and thinking about the practice as he goes to it, and all that is super important. So
yeah, absolutely. Hey, give me one quick second. I'm just going to turn off this AC. Okay. Sorry about that.
No problem. Okay, I have 2 more questions for you.
Sure, take your time.
So our readers are very intentional, and they care a lot about making good use of their time, protecting their attention. But I think I put myself in this group too. I think all of us struggle with procrastination. And you write that when we're procrastinating, putting off exercise, avoiding the difficult conversation or the challenging work, it's less about this motivation. It's what you just said. It's about pain management. We're actually avoiding anticipated discomfort. Mm-hmm. So I'd love for you to just explain, like, how do we use this power of anticipation to sort of change our relationship to procrastination?
Yeah. And this to me was, I think, the biggest revelation of writing my last book. I call them internal triggers. And it came from this deeper research into, I think we keep the problem very surface level when we just talk about technology, right? That's I think the average person says, oh, I'm so distracted. It's because of this thing. It's the email, it's the social media, it's what's happening in the news, Twitter. That's what's causing the distraction. That's like very kindergarten level understanding. One layer deeper for that is understanding that there's uh, these psychological reasons that we are looking for distraction. Um, and so that comes down to realizing that everything we do, not just time management, but everything we do, is driven not by carrots and sticks. It's by understanding that everything is driven by the desire to escape discomfort. So the carrot is the stick,
Hmm.
that wanting to feel good, craving, desire, lusting, hunger, all of those things, wanting to feel good is itself psychologically destabilizing. The way the brain gets us to act, spurs us into behavior, is by causing a bit of discomfort, even when we want to feel good, right?
Hmm.
And so once you understand that, if all human behavior is spurred by a desire to escape discomfort, that means that time management is pain management. Money management is pain management. Weight management is pain management. It's all pain management. And so what we have to do is to be prepared to deal with that discomfort, to separate the pain from the suffering and see the pain differently. How do we do that? We do that through the pain of anticipation. The power of anticipation. So one of the things that really blew my mind, and I'm a very skeptical person in my writing, and so I always want to make sure I can see the facts. I need to see what's objectively true. And I wouldn't have believed this if I didn't see it. I actually saw the videos of a guy by the name of Daniel Gisler, who is a commodities trader and very analytical guy, very, the exact opposite of anything woo-woo that you would ever, he doesn't like that stuff, and very, very analytical guy. And one day he had this freak accident and he broke some bones in his ankle, and he had to have pins inserted into his ankle bones to let them heal. A few years later, it's time for him to remove those screws in an operation. The operation is about an hour. And along the way, he comes across this technique called hypnosedation. Now, hypnosedation is not like stage hypnosis. There's nothing magical about it. It's totally different. It's basically a process of gaining very deep control over your power of beliefs and letting in certain things into your consciousness versus others. And through the power of anticipation, anticipating how you will feel. And this guy, and again, I've seen the tapes. It blows my mind every time I've seen them. He went through a 55-minute operation where scalpel was cutting into flesh, where metal screws were wrenched from bone without general anesthesia, without local anesthesia, nothing. 55 minutes. And it's not that he was just biting a bullet. No, his heart rate stayed stable. His blood pressure stayed stable. It was amazing. And why do I tell this story? It's not that I want people to go do hypnosedation. I'm not doing it. I tell people this story because if the brain can do that, if the brain can see the pain of surgery without anesthesia as not something to suffer from, what else is it capable of doing? And so that's just one of many, many techniques that we can use to change our perception of what we think must cause us suffering. That when we change our expectations, we change our life.
Amazing. Yeah, that story at the start is
Crazy, huh?
absolutely crazy.
Wild.
Crazy. So of course our readers are very tactical. Make time is 87 tactics in the book. We're always coming up with new tactics. And I think they're very experimental too. It's like they want to just try something. So what's your advice if someone hears this, reads this, and they want to run a small experiment to maybe change a limiting belief? Maybe it's around their time, their attention, focus. Like, what would you suggest they try?
I think the most powerful overarching strategy. I'm not big into tactics. I like strategies because
Mm-hmm.
tactics are what you do, strategies why you do it. So if I give you the strategy, you can come up with lots and lots of different tactics. I think it's this turnaround that it's a guided practice, right? This comes from the work of Byron Katie, who I have to give credit to, and she actually needs to give credit to Aristotle because he was doing it 2,500 years before her. But she's really devised these 4 questions that are very, very effective, which is number one, is my belief true? So you write down that belief, whatever it is. I don't have time. I have a short attention span. I am no good at this. I have imposter syndrome. Whatever, this person made me mad, whatever the case might be, whatever is causing you suffering. And you ask, is it true? Then you ask, is it absolutely true? Without exception. No, 100% of the time, it's always true. It's an absolute truth. Well, almost always there's an exception, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's not true. Then who am I with this belief? So how does it cause me suffering? Who do I become? How do I feel? What am I like? And then three, who would I be with, or sorry, four, who would I be without that belief? And that simple practice, in about 30 seconds, you can assess whether that belief is actually serving you. And what you find most of the time at the core of the muck in your life, the projects that don't get done, the goals that somehow are with you year after year on your New Year's resolution, whatever is causing you suffering in your life, wherever that muck is, you will find this limiting belief. So what this exercise does in just a few seconds is show you that the belief is optional, that it's not absolutely true, that many times that belief is hurting you, and that you'd be much better off without it. Now, what does that give you? It gives you the opportunity to collect a portfolio of perspectives by turning by doing a turnaround, by asking yourself, could the exact opposite also be true? I have plenty of time. I'm great at time management. I'm someone who's really good at focusing. Could that possibly be true? Or is there any circumstances where it could be true? And if you can find even one tiny example, 1% chance that it's true, you can try it on for size. Not to convince yourself to believe something you're not to fake it till you make it, but to look through life through a different lens, just to try it on, okay? Because beliefs are tools, not truths. So you can try on that alternative perspectives like you try on a pair of glasses. And if you don't like the way they fit, you try a different one. But what happens to so many of us is that we get stuck in a rut of just one belief. He hurt me. She did this to me. I'm bad at this. I'm no good at that. And that's all we can think about. And then we notice it through the power of attention. We anticipate it to happen. And then we act, the power of agency, we act in accordance to that belief. And so rather, when we can free ourselves and have a portfolio of perspectives, we can choose the one that serves us best.
Amazing. Thank you, Nir. I
My
love
pleasure.
that. That's a great way to close